G'day, it's Joel Rasmussen for Southern Cross Combat, and I'm here at a undisclosed location talking to the man who is the promoter at Hex. I'm talking to Mr. Jacob Watts, nearly fresh off the plane from New Zealand. How did New Zealand treat you?
Yeah, New Zealand was amazing, man. I've said this in pretty much every interview I've done. I just can't speak highly enough of the people there. They were so accepting. Everyone was so nice. The media over there was amazing. I guess their whole outlook on the sport of MMA is completely different to how it is here in Melbourne. So it was a little bit of a shock at first, but yeah, it was honestly it was heartwarming to know that how supported we were coming over.
For me, being over there, it was a shock to the system as well. I didn't expect that kind of like... They have like a real grassroots support for martial arts over there. And I know to promote Hex, you've been going over. Like, that wasn't your first trip. For me, that was my first time over there. But still, you touched on it there. But how was that? Like, the acceptance, how was it? How was everyone?
Yeah, it was incredible. It just makes me so excited to come back, to go back to New Zealand, and yeah, it was really nice to see not just people in the MMA community, but people outside of the MMA community get behind us. We had the AM show, we had radio stations, we had some, social media influencers and stars over there that are not in the MMA scene that came down and supported us. So yeah, it was just really nice to see, and hopefully Melbourne follows suit on that.
I've asked you before about, I believe it was at the Festival Hall show. I saw you running around kind of the whole night. And anyone who was watching the broadcast, you talked about there was people in the crowd, there were some influencers, there were some people of note. There was also some like the guys who weren't fighting who were from City Kickboxing. Did you get a chance to like hang out with anyone, or were you running around?
Yeah, I got a chance to chat to a lot of the people there, and it's the same thing. They're so supportive. They're not even just of their teammates, but also just of the show. We had Israel Adesanya and Kai Kara-France there, who are both former Hex fighters. We had Kevin Jesse, who's was the first ever double champ for Hex. They were there. Even Dan Hooker was in attendance. Carlos Olberg, they've never fought on Hex, but they were down there supporting us. They were, doing, they were promoting us, which was really nice.
Now, you said that you can't wait to go back. How feasible is that for Hex? Was the first event a success?
Yeah, it definitely was a success, and we cannot wait to be back in New Zealand. We haven't spoken about when that's going to be, but we definitely plan to go back there and go back there quite regularly.
We'll talk about that, it being regularly, and I know you said you haven't spoken about an exact date. I don't think necessarily anyone's expecting an exact date, but could that be like a yearly thing? How often do you think that is possible for Hex to go back?
It's something that we need to discuss as a team, but I'd think at a minimum once a year. Like I said, it was a massive success, and it's great to give these guys over there a chance to fight in front of their home crowd on a platform like Hex.
Talking about that, after the last Hex in Melbourne, Hex 29, there was a lot of talk from the WA fighters about getting a Hex Perth. And I asked you ahead of Hex 30, the first time you travel, you're not even going interstate, you're going international. Which do you think happens first, another international Hex or an interstate Hex?
TBC on that one. I know the Perth fighters are chomping at the bit for us to go over there. We've even the Sydney guys, they really want us to come over to Sydney. So, like I said, it's something that we have to talk about as a team. We just really put all of our focus and all of our energy into nailing this New Zealand show. And now that it's behind us, we can plan more for the future. But we want to go overseas and interstate in 2025.
Is there any of those states you mentioned there? I mentioned WA, you mentioned New South Wales. Any inkling to which one you'd go to first?
Not at this stage. Like I said, it's something that we'd have to chat to with the team and see what kind of option is best for us. But who knows? We could go to both next year.
I know you just said there about this, the Hex 30 is now behind you and you can kind of look forward. We'll talk about the future in a little bit, but I do want to kind of break down Hex 30 a little bit with you, get your thoughts, because I believe Hex 30 will have an effect on Hex 31. That's just my humble opinion. What were your thoughts on the card? Is there any fight that jumps out at you if you want to talk about anyone in specifics?
How long have we got to talk? Because I could talk about this card for hours, man. Yeah, I mean, the first... I guess fight that jumps out at me, it was one of the early ones, was Ollie Schmid. What he did in that fight with with a right cross, and then it was a spinning back kick to liver, and then he spun the opposite way with the spinning back fist. Like, for a guy that was 0-1, it was his second professional fight, to go out there and do something like that to a very good striker, very good kickboxer, Dane Edge. That was just ridiculous. And I think even the amateurs that we had on the show, we had 2 amateur fights which were presented by Road to Hex. They really set the tone because they did not look like amateurs. Their fights were crazy, and that really just set the tone for the whole night. The crowd was just going ballistic from literally the first second of the first fight. The crowd was going nuts. So those guys really set the tone, and then you had Dekarmid Armstrong and Moses Afoa just a 3-round slugfest, just going to war. And those guys promised that from the moment that fight was offered. They promised to go out there and just throw hands and just go to war, and they did exactly that. So hats off to those guys. And yeah, then as we moved up the card, we had the females, which was just an incredible fight. You know, Jenna Fabian was, you know, in control for 2.5 rounds of that fight, and then Jamie just showed her grit and her toughness and was able to find the finish over someone that is very accomplished in MMA. So, obviously condolences to Jenna. It was a beautiful performance by her up until that point, but hats off to Jamie for sticking tough and getting through that.
Well, I was talking about Jenna. I wanted to ask, she has that kind of fantastic performance. I think the comeback from Jamie speaks to Jamie's toughness. In terms of kind of her standing, Jenna's standing, do you think, even though she's coming off a stoppage loss, in so many words, do you think her stock goes down? She still had a fantastic performance. What do you kind of make of her and where she goes next?
No, I definitely don't think that she's lost any stock at all, because, like I said, it was a clinical performance up until that point. I don't think her stock drops at all, and I think Jamie's stock rises like exponentially because of what she was able to fight through and come out on the other side. And I think both of those women will definitely be seeing back on a Hex card before the end of the year.
And as well as that, you talked about the opening 2 amateur fights presented by Road to Hex. Is there anything you could tell me about Road to Hex? I know there's some plans for those shows coming up. Is there anything you can tell me?
Yeah, it's we're just slowly building out the Road to Hex platform. But basically, what we want to do is we want to come into the amateur scene and give the amateur guys a chance to kind of experience what the pro scene is like and experience what Hex is at the amateur level, because I think it's quite a big jump coming from, you know, the amateur fights up into the pro Hex card. It's quite a stark difference. So we we wanted to, and we've always wanted to do this, but now's a great time. Is we want to bring in more amateurs onto the show and just give them a chance to kind of feel what it's like, and so that when they do come up into the pro ranks, it's not such a culture shock and such a different experience for them.
Will the amateur shows? Will Hex become a pro-am show? Hex 30 was pro-am show, 2 amateur fights, all the rest pro. Will that be continuing?
We'll have the next show will be pro-am, and then from our 3rd show of the year onwards, 4th show of the year onwards, they'll be separate shows. So we'll have the pro show and the amateur show.
Will those shows run in conjunction with each other, separate dates? How will that work?
They'll run on separate days, but it'll be over one weekend. So it'll be I guess we'll be bringing like a fight weekend to wherever we are in Australia or in New Zealand. We'll be bringing a fight weekend, which will just be a great experience for all the fans.
Now, talking about some other fights on the card, Raymond Quintana comes out of a lengthy layoff and puts on an incredible performance in a weight class that he's not typically in. What were your thoughts on that fight?
Yeah, crazy. I was kind of speechless when it happened. You know, firstly for Blood Diamond, I think he's an incredible fighter, and I know that he'll be back. He's one of the nicest guys I've ever dealt with in not even just in MMA, just in life. He's one of the nicest guys I've ever dealt with, and I know that he'll be back. But for Raymart, you know, and I said this to him after the fight because he was obviously extremely excited. I said, in Blood Diamond's UFC career, the 3 fighters that he fought against, they all just took him down and laid on top of him. But Raymart went out there, backed himself, and finished it on the feet, and finished it emphatically. It wasn't like a TKO or a ground and pound. He finished him on the feet. So that speaks volumes of Raymart.
I don't know. I didn't ask him after the fight, but I would assume he's going to move back to his regular weight class of lightweight. Where do you see him? Is he going to be a player there? What do you kind of see is next for Raymart?
I think he's got his eyes on a certain someone at lightweight, but we'll just see how that one plays out.
Is that a certain someone holding a belt?
Potentially.
We'll talk about Hex 31 in a little bit. We're still kind of talking about Hex 30. Of course, Navajo Sterling put on a fantastic performance in front of the home crowd. Going into that fight, a lot of the talk and the questions that got asked about him was about his time away and about can he find opponents. He's now he won that fight in the cage. He said you promised him a fight. Are we going to see Navajo Sterling anytime soon?
Yeah, we'll break the news on here for you, Joel. But Navajo Sterling will be fighting in the main event of Hex 31, so that's Friday, June 14th. He'll be fighting for the Hex light heavyweight title. We do have an opponent, but I can't break all the news on this show for you. So keep an eye out on the Hex socials because we'll be announcing that. But it'll be a very, very high level and a very fun fight.
How is it booking a show so quickly after the last show?
It's like a learning curve, and we, like, as a business and as people, we always like to test ourselves because without testing ourselves we can't grow. But it's been fun kind of co-promoting both shows. It's like I said, it's been a massive learning curve for us. But the fans and the people in Melbourne are so loyal to Hex, and they're so invested in Hex that the shows got to a point where it sells itself. So we're able to go out to New Zealand, put all of our focus into New Zealand, and the Melbourne show will just sell itself.
Now, a fight on the Hex 30 card, Justin Van Heerden versus Michael Barber. That was the number one contenders fight. Justin Van Heerden won that fight. He seems to have his eyes set on the lightweight title with Harry Webb. And as well as that, interim Hex featherweight champion Abdallah Biata has accepted a professional Muay Thai fight in a little bit. I want to talk about that first. What are your thoughts on him taking that fight? Is there any worry that jeopardizes his position on Hex 31?
There's no worry that it's going to jeopardize his spot. You know, it's the fight game. Anything can happen, but yeah, it wasn't just an out of the blue thing. Like we were consulted, and we're never going to stop anyone from fighting. So I think he'll get through that fight and he'll be fine to go. And as far as Justin, he just got in front of the camera and just went for it. But I'd expect him to be fighting Abdallah June 14th.
From my understanding, the reason Abdallah wasn't fighting on Hex 30 was because he didn't want to fight in May. He is now taking a fight at the end of May. Were you told anything about that? What is that situation? Do you know?
Yeah, it was just because of the camp that he would have to put in to face someone like Justin, and he had Ramadan. He'd just come off the knockout loss to Harry Webb, so it was more to do with the actual camp leading into that fight and the lengths that he has to go to get ready for someone like Justin. He just didn't feel like he had the sufficient time, and his schedule didn't work to do that camp to go in for May 4th. Now he's taken the fight, I think it's May 26th or something like that. It's 3 weeks later in the Muay Thai, which he's not going to have to put in as extensive as a camp. He's not going to be focusing on his wrestling, like he would with Justin. So there's no, like, it's been a clear communication from both sides.
Now, there isn't a structured question about this, and I don't think he would want me to ask a structured question about him because of who he is. Randall Raymond, thoughts?
Yeah, I don't really have words for it. He actually sent me this message today, and I'll say this on here because I was just busy myself. He messaged me and he said, we were chatting about the fight and just how he's feeling. He's actually came out with a couple of injuries, but his specific message said, I am the gatekeeper, and then in quotation marks, you shall not pass. So he's such a character. Like, anytime he gets in front of a mic, anytime he gets in the cage, anytime he's in front of even the phone with his sponsor ad, like, he's just a character. And we're so lucky to have him as part of Hex and to have him as our heavyweight champion. And he's not just a funny guy. Like, he went in there, went to absolute war with Brando, who Brando is still like one of the next big things of Australian and New Zealand mixed martial arts. So he went in there, he took his best shots and he finished him. And he's not just a funny guy. He's an absolute killer. When that cage door locks, he's a completely different person.
Talking about that, I asked him about it. He refers to himself as that kind of gatekeeping position. And I asked him flat out, I said, why do you put yourself there? Why can't you be the guy to go to the UFC? What are your thoughts on that? What is the next step for him?
I think he's one of the most deserving guys in the scene to go to the UFC. I know he's obviously a bit older. He's 37 years old, but he just went out there and finished a 29-year-old absolute talent. Like, he's obviously got what it takes to hang with the top guys in the world. And I think that it would be a shame if the UFC didn't give him a shot, because he's marketable and he puts on fun fights, and he's got what it takes to hang with these top guys. I know he's older, but you look at people like Glover, who won a title at 42. Like, it's in this sport, and especially at these kind of heavier weights where they're not doing these extensive weight cuts over and over and over again, you can fight a bit older, and he hasn't taken the crazy amount of damage that's changed him as a fighter, as a person. So I think that the UFC or the PFL or whoever it is would be remiss if they didn't give him an opportunity.
Talking about people getting that next opportunity, Sean Gauci pulls off the first round KO and earns himself the Hex flyweight title. What were your thoughts on him at flyweight? How do you think he looked?
He looked incredible. Even at the weigh-ins, I was like, holy shit! Like, this guy looks like a killer. That is his weight class, and I think he's going to be a serious problem for anyone. And I'm really glad that he got on the mic and called his shot, because he is that world champion caliber fighter, and his opponent Nobuyoshi as well. He like, for the people that were out there saying, oh, this is a gimme fight, this and that, he went out there and he hung with him, and no one's taking that right hand. I don't care who it is in the UFC, in the world. No one is taking that right hand from Sean Gauci, because he hits like an absolute truck. He's knocking dudes out at bantamweight, and now he's knocking dudes out at flyweight. And I think if he doesn't get his shot after this fight and that performance, I think it would be unfortunate. But I know that even if he doesn't, he'll be back. He'll be back on X. He'll fight again, and I'm sure that opportunity is coming.
You've kind of touched on it there, but do you think it's time for him to move on to that world stage?
100%, without a doubt. I think everyone in the scene knows that.
Jamie Edenden, Sean Gauci's teammate, also called for that PFL or Bellator move, because unfortunately there isn't a weight class for her in the UFC. How is it for you as a promoter of a fight promotion, where there's this really good talent and you're building them up, and they will leave to go to that kind of next level? You are creating talent that will go to the UFC. They will go to the Bellators and the PFLs of the world.
It's a privilege for us, because we get to build these guys up and test them and get them ready for the next step. And I think Jamie's another one that's ready for that next step. What she was able to overcome and do, and she's marketable as well. She talks smack, and she talks a talk, and she walks a walk in the cage. And I think that she's definitely ready to go to that next step. And she called out Sarah Collins. That would be an incredible fight.
Now that will, as far as I know, that will conclude our Hex 30 talk. We're now moving on talking about Hex 31 upcoming. You already touched on how it is to kind of build both shows. But the main question and the main thing is, Harry Webb still kind of seems to be without an opponent. We touched on before, Justin's asked, what's going on with Harry Webb? Is there any update?
All will be revealed in the coming days, Joel, my friend. I've already broken one fight on this show, but all will be revealed. Just know that Harry Webb will 100% be defending his lightweight title on the June 14th show.
There's nothing wrong with breaking more news. I don't see why you'd be against it. I would appreciate it.
I can't give you everything, can I?
Why not? I don't see why not.
All will be revealed soon.
I flew to New Zealand. Come on. Now let's look at the things I wrote down. And I feel like we've honestly kind of touched on all of it, but there's still kind of so much to talk about.
I've got one thing to talk about, because we didn't really touch on this, and I really do want to touch on it, and I've been harping on this for fight week and after the fights. Michael Barber is the toughest fight at featherweight for anyone. And everyone was saying that, we've brought Justin over from another show and we've just given him a tune-up fight, or, we're doing this because we know that Justin's going to beat Michael. Michael showed that he is the toughest fight at featherweight for anyone. He's just went to a split decision with Sam Kikembo that could have gone either way, and he just pushed Justin Van Heerden to the absolute limit, where no one else at featherweight has been able to do that in the recent years. No one has been able to do that to him. So I just want to take this opportunity to just sing Michael Barber's praises, because he when he gets in that cage, he's just a problem to deal with, and he just doesn't get the respect he deserves. People look at him on paper, they think, oh, he's 5'8", like, he's not good. He is an absolute weapon. So I know I've said it 100 times this week, but Michael Barber, hats off to you, because you are an absolute weapon.
He, I don't know if you saw, he posted some DMs he had with Justin Van Heerden. Did you see those?
Yeah, I did see that. The one thing about Michael is he will message me flat stick about who he wants to fight, and he'll send me all these messages, and he's a character. But I did see that thing with Justin, and man, who knows what happens down the track. We could definitely see that trilogy fight.
Now, Justin is now the number one contender. We could see that happening. Of course, you that's where, as a promoter, that's where you see him going, staying at featherweight. His teammate, Jarrett Wilbraham, is fighting Semakade Kikembo on that card at Hex 31, and it's a number one contender's position. What happens if Justin wins the title and Jarrett becomes the number one contender?
Mitch asked me this, and that's just a bridge that we'll cross if we have to. I think, to be honest, I think that the winner of Justin and Abdallah would probably be looking at like a contender series or a UFC call up, just because of with Khan Offley gone now, that those guys are the two best in the. We had that little love triangle with Khan, Justin, and Abdallah, but now that with Khan gone, it's those guys are the top two. So I'd expect whoever wins that would be going off. But if the stars aligned and those two if Justin was the champ and Jarrett was the number one contender, we'd just have to deal with that when that situation arose.
Talk about Khan heading off. Have you spoken to Khan at all? Do you know how he's traveling?
Yeah, I've spoken to him. He's loving it. He's really happy. Obviously, he doesn't tell me anything. He's not allowed to. But I'm really excited to watch him on the Ultimate Fighter, and hopefully he's able to get through to the final, and then we can watch him compete on the big stage.
I'm not sure. I haven't seen anyone attribute a quote to you about this, so I'm not sure if you've been asked. But Lisa Kiriakou has also been given the proto call up. She's fighting on road to UFC for a contract. At least that's what she said to me. What are your thoughts on her getting that opportunity?
Well deserved. She's deserved it for a while. She's fought. Obviously, she's been a staple of Hex for a long time, and then she went off to One, and she beat the One. The future of One. In that Wonder Girl, and now she's going off to face this absolute animal from China that she was actually on the Contender Series and put in an amazing performance. So it's well deserved from Lisa. She's got a tough task ahead of her, but if anyone can get it done, it's her.
Now that I know we kind of already touched on this earlier, but still, you've got these kind of two shows coming up back to back, proto back to back, and then there's that time between the next show after 31 and 32. How will that? Are you like? Is that what's keeping you alive right now? Knowing that after I've booked 31 and 30 and 31, there's a little bit of time before 32.
Not really, because as soon as 30's done, we're straight back into it. There's a lot of planning that goes into these events, and that's why we've been able to build the platform we have, the planning and the team that we've put together. It's not just a couple of weeks set up and then we're there. Like it's months of planning.
While in New Zealand, I'm going to choose the term the broadcast partner. I feel like that maybe is an appropriate way to word it. Was Combat Sports Network over in New Zealand. How was it to work with them?
Yeah, it was really good. Obviously, they do a lot of the shows over there, so it was a nice change of pace to work with them, and they were really supportive of the show. They helped us out a lot, so it was great to work with them over there.
And now that you're back in Australia, previously it was BN Sports. Is it still BN Sports?
Not anymore. We've actually working with a new broadcasting company. So We're just trying to find the mold that works best for us at the moment. And yeah, so we're just kind of testing the waters, and I'm sure that we'll have we'll find our match hopefully in June.
And finally, from me at least, that's coming to mind, something we talked about a few times. I've brought it up to you, and there's been multiple answers. Jack Lyons, he is booked for 31. I'll be honest, with Harry Webb seeming to have a hard time finding an opponent, I was kind of expecting Lyons to get the call up. I'm not sure if that's happening. You're the man who knows. What are your thoughts on Jack Lyons and that possible matchup with Harry Webb?
Yeah, I think that's a matchup that we will see in the future. Jack's just coming off some injuries, and I think this fight with Raf Scott is a crazy fight. You know, for anyone that doesn't know who Raf is, go back and watch his Hex highlights, because him and Jack is going to be an absolute cracker of a fight. Two guys that will just stand there and throw heat. So I think that'll be a great fight, and who knows? The Hex, all the Hex divisions right now are so exciting because there's so many possible contenders for the belts, and people are starting to build these stories and make names for themselves on the show and build towards the title. We're able to do these number one contender fights. We're able to build the next stars. So it's really exciting. It's a really exciting time for Hex with so many contenders in all the divisions.
Jacob Watts, I thank you for your time. I thank you for having me at this undisclosed location. I believe that's everything I have to ask you. If not, I'm sure I'll get you on a Zoom call or something and ask you some follow-ups. Thank you very much for the time.
Thanks for coming, Joel. Appreciate it.